Alphas, welcome back to the show. So another guesting interview appearance for you to listen to this week. I had the massive pleasure of being interviewed by Rob Brus for his YouTube channel and his podcast, which is called Go All In. Very successful guy, very successful YouTube channel and podcast. Absolute pleasure for me to be asked to go and be interviewed on there. We talked all things health, longevity, business, mindset, travel. We delved into all sorts, and it was an amazing conversation, and we already know we're going to be having many more. So by all means, please go click the link in my show notes. Go check out Robert, go check out his podcast and his YouTube channel. Excellent resources of information, very interesting, very informative, absolutely 100% go and check him out. And for now, please do enjoy the show.
Andy Naylor, g'day mate, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Hey man, absolute pleasure to be here. Nice to meet you as well, Rob.
I detect a British accent there. Where are you dialing in from at this crazy hour of the day, or is it something reasonable?
So, well, you do, yeah. British accent is absolutely correct. That's where I'm from. However, you catch me today over here in Dubai. I'm just sitting here overlooking Dubai Marina. I'm actually over here for, well, the UK winter. Essentially, I've done 43 UK winters. I've done my time. I've earned my stripes. I'm out, basically. So I've now sort of put down some roots here in Dubai, and my goal being that as soon as winter sort of hits in the UK, I'm out and I'm over here. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever been here, but the climate here, certainly for a British person, their winter is just like our summer. So it's absolutely beautiful. Having said that, it threw it down with rain yesterday, which was quite funny. But generally speaking, the climate here is literally perfect for a British person. So I can come out here, bed down, work, really drive the business forward, enjoy the lifestyle at the same time. So no, it's currently just gone 10 a.m. for me here. So perfectly reasonable time, perfectly reasonable.
Very nice. Charged up on a couple of coffees, no doubt, and let's have a little bit of fun 100%. With this conversation. I was in Dubai about 5 years ago, but only transitioning through, and I didn't get out of the airport, right? So, but before that, the last time I was in Dubai was in 1996. So you could imagine how different the place actually was.
It seems to, from what I mean, obviously, it's only you go back only so far, and it was just a desert, right? It's grown, from my understanding, so very, very, very fast. And I mean, I'm looking out here, and there are things being built and taken down and built, right in front of me. And they build at a pace, and they don't do things by halves, from what I can tell so far. I mean, they're all in. As a, we talk about going all in on something as a city and as an ethics. Like, I'm sitting here looking out this window, like literally over Dubai Marina, and the Dubai Eye is just there. If they go and do something, they don't mess about, and I really like that. So I imagine just from the time that the time that's lapsed since you were last here, it must look and be entirely different. I would imagine, for sure. Yeah.
I had to dig out some old photos for a project I'm working on earlier today, and it was from the late 1990s. And as I was looking through those pictures in my Facebook, because they're the old school 6x4 photos that I've taken a digital photo of and uploaded as memories, so I never lose them, right? And I was in some tower, some hotel somewhere, and there's a photo looking out over the water, and as you say, it was just desert, just nothing there at all. So it's incredible what human beings can do when they put their mind to something and they direct their money in the right way, rather than directing it towards war and corruption and destruction of society and things like that. Dubai is an example of a society that says, hey, we're not going to have oil forever. We're going to run out of oil at some point. We need to bring society to life somehow.
I mean, I don't know the drivers, but that would be a really clear one, wouldn't it? I mean, they know that they're sitting on, or have been sitting on, and still will be for a very long time, one of the biggest resources that we have in the world. However, it's not finite, and obviously they're smart enough to understand that. So they're like, okay, well, it's a beautiful place. Let's make something of it. Let's attract the world here, and let's attract entrepreneurs here and business people here and holiday makers here. And they've done that, and from what I can tell, they've done an exceptional job. I mean, I've traveled reasonably well, but I came here at the beginning of this year, and I was here for 7 weeks, and I literally fell in love with the place. I mean, the gyms that are here, the lifestyle, the sort of the vibe of the marina and the beach, and Yeah, it's. I mean, when you talk about, I mean, as far as I can now see, I mean, you've got the sort of built-up area around the Dubai marina, and then I can't see any desert necessarily. They've just built straight out, and it becomes more. I mean, where I am now, there's not really a lot of greenery and stuff like that, which is one of people's sort of gripes. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, it's still a desert at the end of the day. But you go out in that direction, and they've certainly done a lot to sort of try and make lagoons and far more naturistic style areas, which I think was definitely something. All they've done is listen to what the feedback is that they've had, and then they've gone and acted on that. Just that we would do in business, right? We listen to what our customers tell us. If they tell us we're doing something well, great. The things that they tell us we're doing wrong, we change it and we move forward. And I think they've done that on a very, very grand scale. So yeah, fair play to them. Yeah.
I always love to hear from other people living in other parts of the world. And it's one of the privileges of doing this podcasting thing, right? You're talking to different people all the time and getting their perspective of what it's like to live in other places. Because like you, I've traveled a lot of different places pretty extensively, not as much as some, but that's a common theme that I've heard, what you just said. A couple of my mates used to work for Emirates Airlines, and they were based out of there, of course. And I remember one of my mates, he's from Sydney here, and he said to me that when he moved there, after it all kind of settled down, he got through his training, got into the battle rhythm of the job, so to speak, he never felt more at home than when he was back in Dubai, because you're constantly going places, right, as a hostie. But when he was back there, he just absolutely loved it. And I've known a couple of pilots as well. You know, the pilots here in Australia go over there and they become captains pretty quickly as well. And same thing, they live in these incredible places right on the marina, and they say it's one of the best places in the world. So what about you, man? Does it feel a little bit like home, like a second home for you?
Weirdly, yes, very quickly. I mean, I came out here for 7 weeks at the back end of January, February, and immediately started to put some roots down here very, very quickly, some pretty significant roots, because I just walked here and I came out here essentially for a business mentorship meetup. That was the only reason I came here. I had nothing else, no other particular reason other than the business mentorship that I was part of was having a sort of meetup. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to go out for that. That was an incredible event, and as paved the way for many things afterwards. But I came here and just thought, it did. In fact, there's a pinnacle moment, which is kind of quite embarrassing to really say this out loud. But there was about halfway through, I had to go into downtown to go and do some bits and pieces for setting up some of the things that I set up. And I was ultimately walking from a business, and I was walking to go and see somewhere where I've invested in some property. At the moment, it's on something called the Peninsula, and it's basically just the very groundwork. So I thought, oh, that would be nice to see where the thing is being built that I've invested in. And as I'm walking towards it, I look to my right, and all of a sudden I see the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa. And I look at it, and I'm like, just looking up and up and up. And there's a big lagoon and then a bridge, and I'm like, I'm going to go and check it out. And so I'm walking towards it. It's middle of the day. It's baking hot. There's not many people around, which was lucky for me. And I'm pretty much walking towards it. And as I'm walking over this bridge, music starts playing and the fountain display goes off. And also I looked up at the very top, and there was some sort of, I'm not going to say it was a cloud, but there was something wisping off the top. No word of a lie. I stood there and I could feel a tear roll down my cheek, and I'm like, this place is insane. The whole just feel of it, I was like, I'm done. I'm sold. Like I couldn't quite sum up how it felt. I mean, it sounds pretty ridiculous saying it out loud, but I'm sure many people have some sort of pivotal moment in their life where just a whole bunch of things come together, and it's like, this is possibly where I'm supposed to be. It sounds a little bit woo-woo. I don't know. It is what it is. It's how I felt. And weirdly, I was walking towards it. I've actually got it on camera because I was recording walking towards this thing. So I actually have the moment recorded for me to watch back whenever I want. And yes, from that point forward, I thought, crikey, this it's not that it's like, oh, it beats the UK. It's just completely different. I mean, the UK is home. You know, it's always going to be home. There are things about the place that I love. There are things about the place that I really do not. I'm sure we all get that about the places that we live, and so on and so forth. So then I brought my wife out here. Joe and I came out here for a 2-week sort of holiday, June or July, and it's their summer, and it was roasting hot, too hot, but we came out here and spent a bit of time here. I wanted her to come out and see it, to see if she thought the same I did, because before I started making any mammoth decisions, I needed to see what she naturally thought, right? She came out, and I kind of just tried to not say anything and just let her soak it up, and by the end she was like, yep, I get it. I'm like, okay, cool, right, let's put some wheels in action. I'll start looking for somewhere for us to stay, which is the apartment that I'm now in. And yeah, I mean, it's completely different living. I'm in an apartment 40 floors up. It's a single bedroom apartment. At home we have a 4-bedroom detached house, but the difference in the property is insane. But they feel. I mean, this is like apartment living, and it's more communal because you're in lifts with other people, and it feels different. But then what's outside, and what's sort of on offer just on your doorstep is, I mean, compared to the lovely, quaint little town that I'm from in Leicestershire of England, it's worlds apart. But they both, in their own way, feel like home. And I think that's important, because the goal for me will be to circle across both of them and go back to Britain when it's summer, because there isn't anything quite like a summer's afternoon in Britain. 100%, whether it be the temperature, the height of the sun, I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's very melancholy, actually, I suppose, having been there for so long. So the goal will be is to go back for that, and then as soon as winter starts to hit, so the back end of September, back over here. Yeah,
I love it, man. It's such an important thing to have in your life, to know that something feels like home, and you've also got something else to go back to as well. You're not leaving yourself an out there, but you've got an out if you need it, which is kind of cool as well.
Yeah. It kind of feels. I mean, it's not a circumstantial situation I thought about until the beginning of this year, and it's not certainly something that I thought I'd have the position to get into. I mean, I feel very lucky, and I guess I'd work very hard, but still feel that a few things have aligned to allow this sort of situation to sort of come about. But then on the backside of that, I'm over here grafting. It sounds ridiculous, but I leave the apartment at sort of 5 o'clock in the morning. I go train, I come back, and then I'm working. And I generally really don't go out of the apartment for the rest of the day. I take one day for myself, and that is Sunday. And I'm like, nothing, I'm off. I'm going to go and sit on the beach. But then I go and sit on the beach, and I take my iPad and my book, but I come up with, that's when I come up with ideas, right? So I'm sitting there. It's not. This is the difference in, I think, in the life of an entrepreneur. And I don't say that to sound arrogant or anything ridiculous like that, but it's just the mindset of, I'm working on something all of the time, and I don't mind how much time that takes, because the reward comes straight back to me and the people that I love. So I can go and sit on the beach, and all I need to do is come up with 1 or 2 great ideas. Well, hopefully great ideas, and then I come back here and try and put them into action. And so at least I'm like, again, I don't feel like I'm taking the mick, right? I'm not sitting out there on the beach lardy-darring it. No, I'm sat down there just trying to have some brain space to allow me to just come up with a couple of just thoughts and ideas. I take them back to the team, and I'm like, how about this? And they're like, that's rubbish. This one's not too bad. And I'm like, cool, as long as I got one, that'll do me.
I love it. It's and again, it's something that's not really spoken about a lot. One of my good buddies, who's also my business partner, took his son over to Europe just probably a week before Christmas, and on the way back, so he went via Dubai, stayed there for a day, and went to Croatia. And on the way back, he's in Singapore at the moment, and he messages me on Signal and shows me a picture by the pool, and he's like, I can't wait to get home. I want to do some recording with you. I can't, blah, blah. He's like going on and on and on, like in this message, in this video recording he's sending to me. And I'm talking to him every day as well, right? Like, he's texting me like I'm somewhere over the Bay of Bengal. I'm like, dude, just relax, man. Go with your family and relax. And to your point, entrepreneurs rarely relax. Entrepreneurs rarely switch off, man. You've always got something going on, and something is gathering momentum in your mind. And what do you have a hard time relaxing as well?
100%. It's a curse as much as it is both a beautiful position to be in. But again, it's a first world problem, isn't it? My goodness, there's so many worse things that could be happening. I will never sit here and go, oh, woe is me, I don't stop working. Oh, goodness me, no. There were way worse things happening. So there's sometimes when I've kind of finished a week and I'm just like, okay, I'm done. I'm now not thinking clearly about things. And if a big decision comes at me, I might just do something stupid or not think clearly. So I try to have to sort of be measured in terms of not how much stress, it's not really stress, but just how much bandwidth I've got for things. I can only make clear decisions on so many things a day in a week. And it's that I have to manage. And I think the thing that I've got better at is getting rid of the things that I don't need to make decisions on. In other words, build my team out, the amazing team that we've got inside of Naylor Body Design, so that, well, one, I can move off some decisions that I just don't need to be involved in. So things in fulfillment, things in lead generation, things in sales, things in marketing. There's some stuff that I'm like, you know what you need to do. If you've got a problem, come to me with it. Otherwise, exactly, like, just go and deal with that. which leaves me then just problem solving on a higher level, I suppose, which is where I should be as a CEO. I should be trying to use the brain space that I've got to deal with the bigger problems that are not even at us yet, that are coming down the road. But in terms of relaxing, the hour or two I spend in the gym is, and this sounds really cliche, but I suppose that is, I can't really think of much else. Although this morning, straight away I was in a conversation with a really nice chap on LinkedIn, and he's like, I really want to talk to you. So I booked him in for a call. So it doesn't, if my phone is in my pocket, there's the opportunity to work at all times. And I think the issue I guess the time when I really noticed that could be a problem is, if my wife and I have gone out for food, and let's say because of the time zone difference, you know where this is going, don't you? Because of the time zone differences, let's imagine we're out for food here, for example, but all of the other teams in the UK are working in the middle of the day. So, phone might go off. I might look at the phone and I'm like, I need to respond to this. And I need to be more mindful of. I need to be more mindful of boxing off that time. Joe is extremely understanding of that, but I don't want it to have to be, right? So there is that element of it. It sort of follows you around at all times. And in terms of just mentally switching off,
no such thing.
No. I don't think so, because there's always, just a thought. I have goodness knows how many little sort of notes and things that I can go in and like, I've had an idea, and it could be for one of my Andy chats, or it could be for a podcast, it could be for anything. If a thought pops in my head, I'm like I need to grab it, I need to write it down because I won't remember it. But like I say, I'd far rather be doing this than maybe working a job, and this is not meant disrespectfully in any way at all, but maybe working a job where I really feel that I need to check out at 5 p.m. every night. Because I think in a weird way that would kill my soul a little bit, because it would be telling me that I'm probably doing the wrong thing, kind of. And I've had jobs like that where it has literally been killing my soul badly. And so I know exactly I've had many like that, and I know what that feels like. So again, to coin a horrible phrase, I feel blessed that I'm sitting in a position in a chair whereby, I run my own day, and I think the balance of that is, well then, yeah, if that means that I'm kind of mentally active 7 days a week, then so be it. Keeps me out of trouble.
It's a beautiful thing, man, because you're living in a place where you want to live. You got your missus with you. You're working on things that you absolutely love, and that's what people aspire to. And I guess the crux of what you do in business is to help people to get to that point. Right. So you're dealing with busy executives, you're dealing with busy entrepreneurs that have got so much going on in their life, but they've forgotten to prioritize what really matters, because without what really matters, all of that stuff can just fall off by the wayside. So can you talk to that a little bit about health and why that's important, and how do you actually help people? Tell us about that.
So, 100%. I'll just go back a step there in terms of you really well described the sort of typical, I hate to use the word typical, but particular type of client that we look to serve. And it is busy business person, C-suite VPs, entrepreneurs, business leaders, success, and men mostly, not just, but men mostly. And I think that's because of maybe the way in which we market ourselves, maybe me being the face of the company. I don't know. It's just the way that it is. But we are set up to help that particular person very well. So we go looking for them. But the problem is this, well, they're successful. They're normally A-type personalities that are successful. They will probably have a beautiful family and a very, very successful business, or they're very high up in someone else's business. And either one of those two things have taken a lot to get there. But the problem is somewhere along that timeline, they've sacrificed something of themselves to get there. So, and generally health, well-being, and longevity. And many of the guys that I talk to, I probably have maybe 7 or 8 consultations every single day, bar that Sunday, whereby, they're probably they're 40s and 50s, most often in the sort of 40-50 sort of crossover. They are successful. They've built their wealth. They can step out of their business, but they're facing, pre-diabetes, strokes, and heart attacks. Oh. So they're sitting there talking to me saying, I've done all of this. I put my focus into these two areas, because they're men. And I still think, and I hope, I don't think I'm wrong in saying this, but from my perspective, looking out as a man, I want to be the provider, the leader, the protector, the support. I want to take on that responsibility in the most humble way I possibly can for my family. And so when we do that, what do? We don't put our mask on first. We put everyone else's mask on first, and we sacrifice ourselves. So those are the people that we tend to find. How do we help them? It's very individualized. Most people, it's not complicated. Most people inherently know what they probably ought to be doing. And again, I hear a lot of people, I know what I should be doing, I just need to do it. That phrase I hear a couple of times a day, and I'm like, well, that's great, but that doesn't mean anything. One, what people think they know is never quite what it should be, because all they're doing is probably looking at things online, on the internet, and becoming overwhelmed. And there's a thing called information bias, or trying to find information that actually just tells us that we're right about the things that we think we're right about. People tend to do that a lot. So what tends to happen is when we come along, our job is to simplify things for people, because simplicity is a skill. And I say this to everybody when they come into the program. I said, we're going to make this really simple for you. And they're kind of like, I don't want simple, I want advanced. And I'm like, you don't want advanced because you're not advanced. We need simplicity. You're busy. You've got a family to take care of and a business to run. Simplicity is a skill, because what do humans do? Exactly the opposite, which is way overcomplicate absolutely everything, particularly health and longevity. So we just supply a very clear structure. Yes, of course, nutrition. Yes, of course, training, whatever training modality that might be for the individual. But then we start to dig a lot deeper, because if it were just training and nutrition plans, I mean, those things don't really work on their own. We've got to start digging deeper and looking at like two other key areas for the people that we work with: sleep and stress. Most of them, their sleep is completely broken and their stress is generally up through the roof. So then if we take three areas: body fat, anything over 25%, wrecked sleep, and high stress, those three things are a ticking time bomb to diabetes, strokes, heart attacks. And if they're left undealt with, they will present a problem somewhere down the line. So we're certainly going to look at reducing the perception of stress. We can't come into someone's life and necessarily remove the stressors, but we can change how somebody mentally and physiologically react to that stress. We can create a gap between the trigger and the reaction. And so we definitely work on that. We definitely look to improve sleep. And then, we start to consider and try and help people understand slightly more geeky stuff, things like the autonomic nervous system, which ties into stress. So we all have an autonomic nervous system, and there's generally kind of two parts to it: a continuum between sympathetic tone, or fight and flight, and parasympathetic, rest and digest. Most of us live in very much fight and flight. That's just our day-to-day world. But in terms of health and longevity, that's a bad place to be. It will reduce lifespan, it will reduce quality of life, and it makes getting in shape incredibly difficult. And when we just start to kind of open these doors to people, they're like, never really thought about it like that. And we're like, we know, that's what we're here for. So, our goal is to try and help people understand this without trying to make it. I mean, some of those things might already sound quite a lot to deal with, but it's not, because we just come in and layer them in at the pace of the person that we're working with. Because, if they've got 600 employees and a beautiful family and some grandkids and kids going off to college, they've got a lot on their plate. They're already spinning more plates than they can deal with. Our job is to come and, be the caddy. We're their caddy. We're at the back, kind of like, dealing with everything, removing all the obstacles before it gets to them. And then I think really the other key area is external accountability, which is, a chap said to me this morning, and I say this respectfully, I've been in a conversation with him, and he thought about booking a call, and he said, no, I'm going to see how far I can get on my own first. And I'm like, cool, I respect that. But the problem is, again, that's like that I know what I need to do, I just need to go and do it syndrome. It doesn't, I respect it because I've done it, but then here I am further down the line going, I'm going to do it on my own first. Okay, but it hasn't worked so far, has it? Because one, plans, but two, there's no external accountability. There's no one holding someone accountable. Now, we as humans all want to believe we can hold ourselves accountable. That's a load of BS. We can only do it so far. And then really when it comes down to the crunch, our mind starts to play tricks on us, and we do things like see the week as 5 days and 2. The weekdays and the weekends. I've had an amazing week this week. I've been on point with my training, my steps, my this, my that. And then people just clock out at the weekend because they think they deserve a reward for that's lack of accountability. It's just 7 days. So we come in and just provide support, accountability. Yeah, a kick up the backside now and again as well, some tough love. But ultimately, coaching in the way that we do it is two people, client and coach, working together towards a common purpose. teamwork. So neither side want to let the other side down. There is a bond created. Apps to deliver training plans are great. Ebooks for education are great. Websites are great, but people to people coaching is still where it's at. And I mean, we're able to deliver that in a way online that works so fundamentally well. We don't ever have to be in front of the person. That's kind of an old, I'm not saying it's broken, although I can say that because I did it for 8 years. So I can say that, but it's having to be face to face in front of someone these days. It's just not needed. There are circumstances when it's needed. Yes, of course. But for the most part, people don't need to rely on a crutch of someone to lean on in terms of someone in the gym with them. That's only being accountable for 1 hour at a time. Whereas we help someone be accountable for themselves 24 hours, well, their waking hours of the day, right? So when we start to layer all these things in, suddenly all we're doing is this. We're aligning as many things as we possibly can with the outcome, with the goal. And the more things we can align, the easier it becomes for someone to move forward. And suddenly it becomes like a train that's got so much momentum, it can't be stopped. That's what gets someone to the goal. But here's the other thing. What's more important is it will keep them there. That's the other, I just need to lose 30 pounds. No, you need to lose 30 pounds and you need to keep it off this time, because that's the problem. 85% of people, this is a worldwide stat, right? 85% of people, dieters essentially, whether they do or don't reach the goal, will end up back where they started or worse inside 2 years. It's broken because people do unsustainable things or they just make poor choices. We come in and just try and simplify all of that and go, look, let's just work on the big important stuff. Become a Jedi at the simple stuff. That's it. You know, people don't need advanced. Get really, really damn good at the basics, and generally that will solve most people's problems. But also most people tend to think they're, again, respectfully, beyond, oh, you know, I've been in a gym all my life. I need something really extravagant and, you know, advanced. No, you don't. You just need to get better at the thing you've been doing and get more consistent and aligned. So that was probably a little bit of a monologue, but that's kind of a bit of a window into what it is that we do. And I guess some of the thought process behind some of that. And honestly, I mean, I've been doing this 19 years. The biggest kick I get is just seeing, I mean, it could be someone going, oh, macros. I get it now. And I'm like, that makes my day still, literally. Just seeing someone understand that that's the smallest little thing and helping a human being in the smallest little way that's going to enlighten their day, their week, their month, or whatever. Those are still the things that I think float my boat even 19 years into doing this. And I'm very glad for that, because it's those little things that make, you know, doing this all that worthwhile. I mean, taking someone all the way to maybe putting them on stage and winning physique shows is amazing and awesome, true. But you know, helping busy people and knowing that you've done something to maybe make the last 10 years of their life even more livable, even more enjoyable, so that they can actually play with their grandkids. I mean, that stuff, if I really sat down and thought about it, would make me quite emotional, because we've certainly impacted people on that level. And over the next 20, 30 years of us doing this, there'll be goodness knows how many thousands of people more. That's what's worth it. That gives you a little bit of an idea as to, I guess, what we do and a little bit about how we go about it. Yeah.
I love it, man. It kind of, if you were listening to that conversation and you joined midway through, you'd be thinking, what's he talking about? Is he talking about fitness and health? Or, you know, a lot of what you're saying is actually applies to life, just in general as well, you know, and it applies to you as an individual. You don't have to have complicated things in your life. You can have really simple things and be really good at simple things and be the Jedi Grand Master of that as well. And as you were talking there, I couldn't help but kind of, I was watching a show on TV on Netflix yesterday, and it started out with all of this drama, and then it goes 2 weeks earlier. You know, that's such a lame way to start a TV show, right? So we started out here with you saying that you're in Dubai, you're doing these things, you're living an incredible life, and you've got the lifestyle you want. And that's kind of like the end point of what people you're helping are trying to get to that place where you've got I'm not sure if there's a work-life balance in life. There's just a balance in life, because work is part of life, no matter whether you work for yourself like you do, you have a business, or you work for somebody else. It's just part of life. But finding that balance and finding that spiritual balance within yourself is something that comes along with getting better physically as well. There's so many things that go to that as well. I can tell that you embody everything that your brand is there as well. You talk about it with deep passion, and you really love what you do as well. So, and I also appreciate you sharing some of those common mistakes as well. It's not spoken about a lot, particularly when it comes to sleep. Guys, I can tell you that I got my sleep dialed in properly, to the second, really. And
nice.
that's from the military, right? You just got to go to sleep now, because you don't know if you're going to be able to sleep later on. And you kind of like sit down, sleep for 10 minutes, or you're in a plane about to jump out of it or something, you're fast asleep and somebody wakes you up, wait, let's go. And out the door you go, sort of thing. But it's kind of, I think it's such an important thing. My number is 7. I need 7 hours every night. If I lie down on the floor, on the wooden floor next to me here now, I could go to sleep in exactly 7 hours, because it's the end of the day. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm feeling a bit tired now. If I went to sleep now, I'd wake up in exactly 7 hours. No alarm, no nothing. And I'm lucky because I'm kind of an early riser, and I go to bed early as a consequence of that, sort of 10:30 would be the limit for me. But when I wake up, I'm waking up as the sun is coming up.
Perfect.
And that's
exactly
like,
what we want.
I have that twilight and that circadian rhythm in my brain and my body at the same time. And I don't need an alarm. And if I say to myself, I need to get up at 5 a.m., I'll wake up, no joke, man, at 4:59. And my phone's nowhere. It's like, it's weird.
This is a really interesting thing, and so it's quite often I'll nap in the middle of the day. Depends. I mean, I'm up early, and if sometimes I'll nap because I also know that my day is super long here, and so I'll put my little eye mask on and I'll go, and I don't set any alarm, and I wake up within a minute or two either side of an hour. Bang on, which tells me that my ultradian rhythm, so one of the sleep cycle rhythms, must be bang on an hour, because obviously I'm going all the way through a cycle and waking up back at the top, and I wake up refreshed. And what you're doing when someone talks about, I can go to sleep and it's bang on 7, there is a weird thing that some people, because you can, as you're falling asleep, it's like, right, I must wake up, like, da, da, da. And weirdly, we can seem to talk ourselves into that. I have absolutely no idea how that works. I haven't got a clue. What I do know is whatever's happening inside 7 hours, you are completing either 3 or 4 or even 5 full ultradian rhythms, full sort of sleep cycles. And it just sits perfectly. And what you've also done is then match that so that the last one ends in the circadian rhythm, in other words, the 24-hour rhythm. So basically, you've just moved everything, whether you knew it or not. And I'm guessing you probably did, but you've sort of managed to like shuffle it in. So, right, this is when I go to sleep. This will equate to exactly this many sleep cycles, and I'll always wake up with the sun. It's perfect. I would encourage anyone listening to go in, because sleep is one of the foundations of health. Think about it this way. After oxygen, water probably comes sleep, really. I forget exactly. If I took oxygen away from somebody for 3 minutes, most are in trouble. Water, I think, is 3 days. Sleep is not much past that. I don't think anyone's ever gone past 5 days with no sleep and not been on
some health problem when that happens.
Yeah, but what people tend to do is put up with really low quality sleep for a very long time, and they just turn around and go, yeah, I've always slept bad, it's just the way it is. No, it doesn't need to be that way. And I think when someone wakes up and they're feeling really groggy, tired, sluggish, cloudy minded, all that stuff in the morning, there's a problem, and that doesn't have to be that way. It just takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of, okay, well, maybe I need to go to sleep earlier. Maybe I need to stop eating a little bit earlier, stop drinking a little bit earlier, get away from blue backlit devices. I mean, start using things like blue blocking glasses and stuff like that. And just simple little strategies that can be layered in that can have such a dramatic effect. And if everybody was to wake up feeling a 10 out of 10 in the morning, goodness me, I mean, everyone would be so much more productive and just generally happier and not shouting at the kids and, so well done. I mean, it sounds like you've got that absolutely nailed in there. That sounds awesome. I mean, and I've heard this before. Certainly, we've worked with a lot of people in the US military and the UK military particularly, where they've all turned around and said exactly what you did, which is when you get the chance to sleep, you can just go to sleep because you don't know when you'll get the chance again. I've heard that quite a few times, which again is just a psychological thing to be able to switch off. And that could be on a hard floor, in the back of a truck, on a plane. It doesn't really matter where it is, which is a really interesting ability to control what we would think we can't control. We're tired when we're tired, normally at the end of the day. But there's obviously another layer to that, which is being able to train yourself to to sort of go, well, I don't know when I'm going to get to sleep again. I was going to go now. I find that really interesting. But then you've got that ability, but then you've also absolutely nailed the sort of main sleep as well. Well done. Yeah, you've done a good job there.
It's a superpower for sure, right? Because whenever I share that with someone, they're like, oh man, that's what you said. Like, my sleep is terrible. I got a little hack I want to share with you and maybe with the audience as well, because it's not something that I've actually ever shared publicly. I don't recall sharing it. So you said in the middle of the day when you have a nap, your sleep cycle is about an hour. My sleep cycle is about 20 minutes. And I know that because if I hit that 2 p.m. circadian rhythm dip, like if I have lunch at like 1:30 and I deliberately eat something a little bit carb heavy at lunchtime, deliberately for that 2 p.m. dip, because I know I can have a nap because I'm just positioned to be able to do that. What the little hack that I've got for myself is I put my feet up. Yeah. So if I'm lying, I'll lie on my back and I'll put my feet up like I'm going to do a crunch in a crunch position. And if you put your feet up like that, you'll lay there for 10 minutes, do some deep box breathing, sort of 6 or 8 second box breathing like that while you're there. You'll nod off and you'll wake up in 10 or 15 minutes. Mine is exactly 20 minutes, and you'll get up and you'll feel like you've been asleep for about 4 hours. I don't know what it is.
That's so interesting. So what you've just mentioned there, I didn't know the reasons behind this, but I remember watching a Ben Greenfield podcast. Very clever guy, obviously, but he was talking. I think it was a visual one, because he was talking about napping and acts while napping, and he'd got these compression boots.
Oh yeah.
Which is essentially doing the same thing. So he'd wear these compression boots. It's obviously pushing blood back or helping circulate blood through his lower limbs back up to the body, which is, if you've raised your legs, same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Same net. And so I don't know. I'm going to have to go and have a little look into that, because I wonder what the actual modality is. I mean, if it's a blood pressure thing, whether it's I don't know, but I'm really interested to find out, because that's
maybe
now
your heart doesn't have to pump as hard when your legs are up there, but then if your legs fall asleep up there, you feel terrible and you're not going to go to sleep. So why do I actually fall asleep when my legs are in a position? Like if I lay down there for 20 minutes now, if my legs up, my legs would go to sleep, because my heart can't continually pump the blood up against gravity like that.
There must be a happy medium between how far your legs are up, and there must be like a certain, we have to work that out, certain angle of degrees, so many degrees you're safe. Past that, you've got dead legs, right? Yeah, sure,
something like that.
That's super interesting. I will 100% see if I can set myself up with some legs elevated napping strategies, and I will report back, because I like that. I've not done it, not to my knowledge, not on purpose for sure, but I'm always looking for little things like that maybe we don't have an answer to exactly why something works. And then sometimes maybe it is just, I think it's going to work, therefore it does, which is absolutely fine sometimes as well, right? But
placebo more way into it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. That's cool. I'm going to try that.
So you've got a picture of a lion behind you, and I love that piece of artwork there. So for the people that are listening, it's like a black and white lion, and it looks like it's a bit it's like scratched into the artwork there, like it's kind of coming out. One of the things that I've been playing with my health and fitness in the last couple of months, I revisited a whole bunch of David Goggins things. And David Goggins wrote a new book. You may or may not know. It's actually really good. It's a really good audio book. It's worth buying the hard copy as well and using that as a bit of a reference point. And it's always great to be inspired by other people's state of mind and the way that they actually work. And I really like how you talked about when you were in the gym, you had the opportunity with your phone to actually do a little bit of work, or you were concentrating and you can't really concentrate on anything else except while you're training. That's what I'm there for, right? I feel the same way. And I didn't know that about Goggins, that when he went out running on his ultra marathons and training and doing what he's doing, he's not listening to anything. There's nothing in his ears. And all of those books and the content that he creates and his philosophy around life is coming from running and just that very therapeutic and deep process of training. I love that. And I think each and every one of us have that within our psyche somewhere, somehow. I'm not sure where it is for you or for the people watching and listening to this, but each one of us have that. And I think you've got a responsibility as an individual to find where you can have that deep level of meditation for yourself. Goggins gets it while he's running. I sometimes have an epiphany in the shower. You might be sitting on the beach with your phone on your Sunday and your day off, and you've got one there as well. There's all sorts of things that happen like that. I think it's a really important thing.
I'm going to make a real mess of this because I don't know the exact brainwave level. There are, is it 4 or 5 brainwave levels, and we go through them as we sleep. theta, beta. I don't remember them all, so I'm not going to make an idiot of myself trying to remember them. But one of them, which I think happens either when we're falling asleep and or waking up, which I'm guessing must be also related to dreaming. But I think it's also, again, someone can shoot me down if I've got this wrong, but I think it's also related to more daydreaming. In other words, very free thought, very unrestricted, creative, free thought, which is why a lot of people will report being creative at certain times of the day. In the shower is a really good example. Now, there could be a couple of things, because again, if the shower's too cold, you could get a kick of adrenaline, kick of dopamine, suddenly that, like there's some other little modalities that could be going on there. Like I know when I put my shower on in here, it takes a while to warm up and I force myself to walk in it. It's awful, but then it's like, oh, like it obviously it is. It's a bit of a dopaminergic effect, but it's also clearly going to be a bit of adrenaline as well. And it feels like it wakes you up. Now, I don't necessarily think I get maybe a clear thought. I think I'm definitely most creative in the morning. If I need to create something, copy, think of a podcast, something like that, the morning is when my mind is clearer for whatever particular reason. And interestingly, while training, I try not to be distracted. Sometimes I listen to music, sometimes I don't. Weirdly, more so recently, I haven't. One, because the headphones that I've got are really big and they're really hot over here and they're just distracting. And I certainly like when in the moments of doing a set, so 12 reps of something, whatever it might be, I really try to focus internally a lot, like not externally. So where people are like watching themselves in the mirror, I think is an awful idea, because they're focused on something outside of their body. Well, they're training their body. So quite a lot of the times, if it's safe to do so, I've got my eyes closed and I've totally gone in. Now, so I've gone in and I'm trying to sense what is working. Is it right? Is the pace right? Like technically, is everything? But then also, there's some places that I go to mentally that allow me to train at the level that I do. And sometimes they're pretty damn dark, but I create them on purpose. They're not bad, and it's not bad about anyone else, but to have been able to train at the level that I do because I'm a skinny, very average skinny guy. If I didn't do any of this training, like when I was a kid, I was stick thin. Now, I walk around with above average muscle mass and probably just under 10% body fat. By design, I've made that happen, and that's taken a heck of a lot of training and going to some, pretty dark places. I heard. This is going to sound like I'm trying to be like this person, which I'm not. But I watched. It's called The Last Dance, which was a Netflix documentary about the sort of period of time that Michael Jordan and the team sort of went through the balls and the 6 championships. And there was lots of people saying, Michael would make up these scenarios in his mind to be more competitive. And I'm like, and I know, he was obviously a master at it, but I know that when training for a show, particularly, I've certainly taken comments or looks or things that either did or didn't happen, and I've put them on a massive cinema screen in my mind and use them to my advantage, not to the disadvantage of anyone else and not to the detriment of anyone else, but I need something in the depths to pull on. And I suppose if my mind goes in, it's not always like that. That sounds really doom and gloom, but if I'm really training on that level and it's like, you're sort of sitting under a hell of a lot of weight on a leg press, you've got to do something mentally to be able to do it. And it's not all fairy dust and flowers in your mind. It's not. It's thoughts of failure. It's thoughts of something else that are going for your mind to keep you going forward. So I suppose that's where my mind goes a little bit.
I wanted to pull on that thread with you, right? Because you took me right up to the precipice there. And before you go over the edge, I want to say it because the picture of the lion behind you reminded me of the training that I've been doing the last couple of months. And just after just revisiting some of the David Goggins stuff, and he talks about, where are your demons, man? Do your demons come out at about 20 kilometers when you're jogging? Do they come out at about 40 minutes on the exercise bike? Because it's very hard to sit on an exercise bike for an extended period of time. Do they come out at 9 minutes on the rowing machine? Well, like, where are they? And who are your demons? And I realize I have like demons that come out way early, man. way early.
Really?
Like, and I think I'm like some sort of savage, like David Goggin. I'm the least savage dude in the world, right? I'm like soft and a bit marshmallow around the middle, and like, no, man, I can't quite get there. But I've just sort of been testing myself, and it's funny when I gave up a long time ago worrying about what I actually look like. The genetics I have is what I get, and if I train, I get a bit more muscle mass, I lower my body fat, I feel good. What I care about is how I feel, and my mobility is like the most important thing to me. To be able to still be able to jog, still be able to cycle, still be able to jump and to jump out of aeroplanes and things like that. So that they're the things that matter for me. So I'm not really training anything specific, but trying to be a little bit stronger. I do a lot of calisthenics and a lot of chin-ups and a lot of push-ups and things like that. And that really kind of helps me to feel good about myself. And that lion there behind you kind of reminds me like 40 minutes, and it kind of swipes its big paw and get out. I'm not sure what the demon is, but whatever it is, it's pretty annoying. And you've just got to like fight. You said yourself, you got to close your eyes and go inward into yourself on that heavy leg press that you're sitting in. And I've been not so much in weights, because I don't do, if I'm training weights, I'm sort of training 15 to 20 reps, about 4 sets, a minute between each set, and doing 4 sets of compound exercises. That's it. I'm doing big exercises that use multiple muscle groups all at once, because I'm not training for a bodybuilding competition or something like that. But then I'm also doing about an hour and a half of cardio a day as well, sometimes as much as 2 hours, sometimes split up into different workouts. But amongst those workouts, I'm having these nasty demons, man, come out.
So not even when you're training, it's between the sessions.
Well, I'm on set number 3 of some shoulder press, right. And I get 15 or 20 reps, whatever I've kind of picked based on the weight I've got going on there. And I'm just getting 20 reps, man. And I'm going 18, 19, 20. And then I sit down, I press the button on my phone for 1 minute. 1 minute comes along, and then the demons on my shoulder just goes, just another 20 seconds will be all right, mate. Just wait 20 more seconds.
Okay.
And the lion behind you is coming along going, no, go, pick it up. Yeah. And I'm just forcing myself to get there, right?
I think in our minds, and I don't know. I think in our minds, a lot of people, a bit of extra rest, or just take it easy on yourself today, or, I think those thoughts we all have at some point. I train at a certain percentage now. I know that I could always train with more intensity, always, like it always exists. But then I watch some people in the gym. I see a lot of gyms, and I see a lot of people train, and respectfully, for the most part, people are just in there counting reps, generally speaking. For the most part, there's a lot of people that aren't. I just need to put that in there. But there's a lot of people who are in. Now, it could be because they are on their journey to learning how to become intense in the gym. I totally understand that. There are some people who are going in, and maybe it is just, I need to get away from the family, the kids, the work, and I don't care what I do in here. I just need something. And that's also okay. Although I would question, yes, but I would question, but do you not want to get paid in a result for the time that you're putting in? Like, I would put that out there. But whatever these demons are, wherever these places we go, we should really explore them. I really think they should be really explored by each individual, because, and I'm not saying everybody's got them, and I also don't know if everybody truly gets to a point where they come out. And
that's what I went to explore, right? That's what I went to explore, because I realized they weren't coming out. I did a workout the other day on the box. So I was doing box jump burpees, right? So the box is about it's about to my stomach, right? And I can box jump to my neck. I can jump a high box, so it's not that high. So I would do 15 box jumps, burpees, and then I'd go to the rowing machine for 90 seconds, and then to the bike for 90 seconds, and then have like 2 minute rest and do like 4 rounds of that. It's like it's a HIIT workout, right? But at the end of it, I'm doubled over in pain, and I'm like completely drenched in sweat, and I'm walking out of the gym looking around, and there's like somebody on the like pec deck going,
Right.
I'm like, am I the only person in here training? What's wrong with me? Is this like normal?
It is like, so I see that, and I have to, I'll never walk up to someone with all, the experience I've got. I've learned I don't ever go up to anyone because it's not my place to do so, unless I think I'm about to watch someone hurt themselves. In which case, I will walk up and go, "Can I just give you some advice? You don't have to take it, but can I just, And I really don't say that very often. Most of the times, I'm watching people, and I pass absolutely no judgment whatsoever because I know I've had to go into a gym and mess around because I might be injured or I might not be feeling so well. There's sometimes there's a backstory. Now, I would still say for the majority of the time, it's just that most people, well, first of all, what do most people do when they go to the gym? They watch everybody and copy them. That's how I started training. I lost about the first 5 years of my training by copying people who hadn't got a clue what they were doing. No idea what's the rule. Absolutely nothing. So I lost so much time, and I think that's when we'll go back to the phrase, I'm just going to see how I get on my own. Yeah, I already know how that works out. I know how that works out. Education is the key to unlocking potential, right? And you don't if you already had that knowledge, you'd be further along. So I think people are. Well, one, they just don't know their own capabilities, right? So they stay well within it's just getting a little bit difficult. No, you've got 10 more reps in the tank. Get on with it, princess. You need to learn to push a lot harder. But that learning to push harder has to be driven by somebody else, because that somebody else has to go, your form is fine. You could have done 2 more reps. It needs to be shown to somebody, I think. And it doesn't have to be a coach, a PT. I mean, it could be just someone who's further along the training journey than someone else, passing that knowledge back down. But yeah, goodness me, I tried just not. I mean, I watch some people train in the gym and I'm like, oh my God, that's inspired me so much. I'm like, I'm going to do a better set next time. And I love that. I love being in a gym where I feel like absolute base level. Like if I walk into a gym and I'm like, whoa, I am a small fish in here. Brilliant. Because what does that do? Like it'll make me level my game up for that session in the gym. I don't want to go into a gym where, and this sounds well arrogant, and I really don't mean it to sound this way. I don't want to walk into a gym where I have the best physique. That does not serve me as an individual in any way at all. I want to walk into somewhere I walk in and I'm like, holy moly, what the hell have I walked into here? Because then I become better. And that goes across every area of our world. Everything. If we surround ourselves with people who are worse or the same as us, generally that will keep us where we are. We should be constantly looking to put ourselves in a position of not fear, but putting ourselves in a place where we're like, goodness me, I don't know if I should be sitting at this table with these people. They're so much further ahead than me. That's exactly where you need to be. You need to be sitting there going, whoa, I need to level up to be sat at this table, because that's how we level up in business, in relationships, in everything that we do. And so, yeah, that was a
dead right, example, man. Dead right. I would say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. Yeah, 100%. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Unless you're there to teach the people that are there, like unless it's like a seminar or something like that, then hopefully you're possibly the smartest person in the room, maybe. But yeah, I think in terms of just leveling up, this is certainly something, I try to spend my time around people who make me feel really stupid, not on purpose, but their knowledge level is so, certainly in business, right? The people I try and hang around in terms of business, I'm trying to hang on to their coattails because they're like, and I'm like, oh my, they're just so much further down the road, but they were where I was one day. Of course they were. So, and they know that. And, I think, there are sort of people probably following my journey, and, maybe one day I turn around and help people in business, whether I do or don't, I don't know. But the idea is to pass that information back down so the generations who are following us get a head start. Like, why would we not do that? It seems to make all the sense in the world. But for sure, definitely surround ourselves. I mean, and it comes back to the surround yourself, the 5 people you surround yourself with, you become the sum total of them. There is so much, it's such an old phrase, but there is so much truth in that. So much truth. And sometimes removing a person from that, whether it's 5, 6, 4, God only knows, but removing somebody from that group can be one of the most painful things you ever do. But if you value your own personal growth, then sometimes that has to happen. And it can be a family member, right? But ultimately, one of the things I've been taught recently, which is essentially about making money. I mean, a lot of people are quite bashful about making money or talking about money. I'm not anymore. I like to make money, but not for extravagance. I do not lead an extravagant life. I say that sitting here in Dubai, but what am I doing every day? I'm sat here working. The reason I quite like making money is for security and options. That's it. God forbid any of my close friends or family ever needed help, like medically or something like that. But I know the first thing is I would step and be like, I can help. Let me help. And I really hope that nothing like that would ever happen. But, you know, we all age, things happen. And I know if I put myself in a position where I can be the person who steps up and goes, let me help, please let me help. It would be an honor for me to help you. That's kind of this weird driving force behind what I do in terms of moving forward. And sometimes to keep on that path of being able to serve other people, removing somebody who you may end up serving in the future from that 5 is a really weird paradox when you think about it. But I've definitely seen people have to do that, you know. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's good to know what your why is. A lot of people are unable to articulate that, and it seems like you nailed it pretty well there. So, Andy, as we close out this podcast, I always like to put my guests a little bit on the spot here, and I'll do the same here for you. So I'll give you a chance to kind of collect your thoughts. I'm big on reading books and listening to audiobooks and podcasts and whatnot. And I'm going to ask you for a recommendation. You mentioned, I'll go first though. So you mentioned before The Last Dance, and my question to you is: have you read Tim Grover's books, Winning and Relentless? So Tim Grover was Michael Jordan's coach.
So Relentless, black book, green cover, green writing. It's at home. I didn't bring it with me.
So you have read that one.
I'm trying to think if I've read it. So when you talk about, there's a book sitting on my coffee table. So the book I'm reading at the moment, I'm very late to this party, is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I might have got that the wrong way around. I'm half. I know. Honestly, I'm not the biggest book reader. I find I'm getting better. I'm way more listen to something and soak it in. What I should be doing, and this is probably a trick that, I should be listening to the audio and reading the book at the same time. I think the ability to soak up the information from what I've been told would be way higher. That's something that I need to go away and get on with. Relentless, I've definitely got. For some reason, I feel that I've not read it yet. The last book I read in fullness was Traction, which is a business-based book, which I read on the beach here and I found that incredibly useful. And then I've moved on to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then annoyingly, all the other books that I wanted to read, I didn't bring with me. So I now need to go out and buy an additional bunch of books. But Relentless, so that you would recommend that high on the list, would you? If
you liked The Last Dance, you'd like Relentless, because it's kind of the story of Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and the attitude behind it that helped him to be so successful. A lot of people don't like stories about athletes, but it's not about an athlete, it's about a mindset. And he's got another book called Winning as well, which is actually really good. It's kind of an extension of that. It's a little bit of a tribute to Kobe Bryant in there as well. If you're a basketball fan, there's some nice things to be said about that in there as well. So I really recommend that. Do you have some favorite YouTubers or podcasts that you can share with the audience that we might not know about, that kind of something that you go to as well?
The podcasts that I listen to at the moment. So I've just recently really got into Andrew Huberman's podcast hugely.
That's awesome, hey?
I maybe only really started listening to them last couple of weeks. And again, sometimes I'm quite late to these things. But again, listening to someone who's obviously incredibly knowledgeable about their field, it makes you feel really stupid in a really good way, because I'm like, my goodness, there's so much out here to learn. So all my steps and everything at the moment, I've been delving into those as much as I possibly can. And interestingly, so here's an interesting part of my journey. Of course, for the first part of what I was doing, everything I was doing was learning about coaching and actually coaching and get a result. And then, of course, as you start to step away a little bit from the coaching yourself and you start to build out a business, I mean, there's like 28 in the company right now, and there are departments. And so what my job is now being a CEO and running the company. So, of course, I start to look at things like traction and funnel building and copywriting and all the other things that then come around with running a successful business. But by listening to Andrew Huberman, it sort of pulled me back into the things that I actually float my boat as the geeky stuff in terms of coaching people. So listen to him. In terms of other coaching based things, so Ben Pakulski's podcast, Muscle Intelligence, I think it's called. I've listened to that, and the one and Muscle Expert, I think he had before that. Those in terms of coaching and in terms of useful tools and tactics and strategies to live your best life in your best body, I think is his catchphrase 100%. In terms of other things, in terms of business, Alex Hormozy, absolute gold, the stuff that guy comes out with. I tend to listen to his podcast, and what I like about his podcast and that I've taken to mine is they're relatively short and sweet.
Yeah.
They're not particularly long. So my podcasts are like 20 minutes, 25 minutes max. The odd one's a little bit longer. So I quite like that they're short and sweet because my attention span works that way. So those are good. And then every now and again, if I really want to go off on a little bit of a mental mission, some Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, nice.
Why not, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, again, listening to someone articulate themselves. I mean, I like listening to Jordan Peterson in an argument, if I'm quite honest, like probably everybody does, because his ability to very carefully choose his words and the direction he takes a conversation in, I admire so much, because it's so, and if you think about the topics he gets called upon, very easy to get into some sort of word battle of words, right? But he seems so, and whether he is or not inside, but he seems so poised and calm. And I like that ability, and I like to try and learn from that, because I think if we can take that and apply that into our lives, we make better decisions. So yeah, I guess there's some of the probably the main things in terms of, and for just fun, in terms of YouTubers. Probably the one YouTube channel I watch the most is a guy called Chris Bumstead, who is the 4-time reigning classic physique Mr. Olympia. So that's just pure bodybuilding. I don't really watch a lot of bodybuilding stuff, if I'm honest. I've seen so much of it. It does get a little bit tiresome watching someone train in the gym, like after so many years. But he's such a normal guy with such an outstanding physique that I quite, and his journey's been really. I feel a little bit invested in his journey, because I guess I've just been watching his channel for so long. So he's one of those sorts of people that it's not like I feel like I know him type thing, but I can relate to areas and parts of the journey that he's been on. Obviously nowhere near to the level that he's got to, but yeah, probably in terms of just out and out bodybuilding fun stuff to watch, I'd probably watch his a little bit for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll dig out some links, ladies and gentlemen, and just scroll down and you can have a look in the show notes and all of the things that Andy and I have been talking about here right there. Andy, as we close out the show here today, is there any offer or anything that people can do to connect with you to find out some more and maybe get something? Or have you got a giveaway? Have you got a download somewhere?
So we have all sorts of things all of the time, and rather than just give out any sort of generic download, we have so much. So I create a lot of ebooks and a lot of courses, and we would far rather provide something that's of value to an individual. Best thing to do in terms of the best places to find us. Well, one, of course, the Optimal Alpha podcast. So if you want to listen to me talk about more coaching things, more applicable tools to help busy people, that's a great place to go. And then really, if you search, someone was to search me on any of the social media channels. So, I'm Andy Naylor on LinkedIn, Andy Naylor on Facebook. I have an awful Instagram handle, which is just full of underscores. I'm not even going to say it. I'll let you put it in the show notes later. But ultimately, if someone basically quite simply, if someone reaches out to us, it'll be in any of our social media channels and says, hey, you got some free ebooks to give out. I'm like, yeah, absolutely 100%. What are you struggling with right now? What's the biggest challenge? If we could help you fix one thing right now, what would it be? Oh, it's sleep. No worries. Here is our comprehensive sleep ebook, stress, mindset, food, whatever. So we have an absolute library of those things that all of our clients have constant access to. But of course, we give those out to people to sort of, help them and try and sort of move on their journey. So yeah, any of our social media channels, if you search for me personally, it's Andy Naylor. The business itself is Naylor Body Design. You'll be able to find us on all the usual social media places. And yeah, just get into our DMs, have a conversation with us. I'm actually in my own DMs quite a lot. We do, of course, have people in there helping to serve as well. But if someone comes and finds us and says, hey, look, I'm really struggling with this, can you help? Chances are probably yes. And, let us give you something free to be getting you on your way. And hey, look, if further down the line you think that was useful and you want to find out really what we could do for you as an individual, reach out. Generally what I do is I have 7 or 8 conversations with people every single day just to see if we can help them. And if we can, we then see where that goes. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And as we mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, just scroll down and right there in the show notes, you'll be able to connect with Andy on his crazy Instagram handle. We'll put that there as well. And make sure you reach out, connect and say, g'day. Mate, I always like to give the guest the final word. Have you got anything you want to say in closing, or did we cover it all for you here today, mate?
Do you know what I'd like to say is I've Man, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. We've gone off on a few really cool tangents. Guesting on people's podcasts is always it's a delight for me. I'm, personally, in terms of podcasting, it's still relatively new for me. So getting, like you said at the beginning, getting the opportunity to talk to people in completely different parts of the world, it is an honor to be able to do that. And I really like our conversation today. Absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Andy. It's great to meet you, man, and I'm looking forward to the next show that we do. No doubt we'll do some more 100%. In the future in that as well. I'd love to bring you back on and we can talk some specifics if you like. That'd be fun. But for now, let's park it up and wrap it up. Bye, everybody. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.